What a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man in G+, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello.
Morning.
Good morning, very enthusiastic. Any signs of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
Not even from Minden, Nevada.
Nothing here in Orange County.
Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
None whatsoever.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Interesting word. They apply it to many things, but no scientific evidence that it is what they say it is.
Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
How's everybody?
Very well. How are you?
Chocolate.
Not too bad. Busy at work, but you know, I'm here. I'm alive. It's Friday.
It is.
Beautiful thing.
Any evidence or any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Not even from Dr. Becky.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nah.
No
What is the
evidence
sun?
for the distance.
That yellowy orangey thing in the sky, Neil? Hey, Owen.
Hello?
Hello. Good to have you.
Yeah, you're on. No distance, no evidence for that distance, but there is evidence for Arwen. He's here.
Excellent.
Distance to Arwen?
The distance to the Arwen. It's just over there.
He's
I'm
over there.
It's over there, yeah. Not an actual size.
He's over there.
I do have an actual size, I think.
Not for me. Depends on the monitor you're on.
Yeah, well, I'm not a hologram, despite some conspiracy theorists from 5 years ago.
Ah, for me, you're
You're
just a
a
load of
pix-
pixels.
Yeah, you're a pixel on my end, Arwen.
Oh, right.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope.
No,
No,
but there was a recent
Stop
story
receiving.
about the molten core of the moon, though.
Molten core of the moon? I'm pretty certain the core of the moon is completely cooled in their rhetoric.
Well, that's what they're saying right now, but you know what? They might just discover that there was still some molten stuff in there after all.
Yes.
Maybe it kick-started itself.
Yeah, you can make up anything you like is what you're saying, basically, isn't it, Arwen?
Well, if the atmosphere is still surrounding the moon, then maybe whatever is keeping it there is also preventing it from cooling down as rapidly.
Therefore,
You know?
you can formulate a hypothesis that it's still got a molten core.
Right. Well, their original assessment of how old it was based on certain cooling rates that they would presuppose. Well, I'm basically overlaying a conception that maybe, yeah, there's something that is actually making the Earth possible to be a ball and atmosphere sticking to it versus outer space. If that thing causes that to be possible, then maybe it will also decrease the cool down of the moon.
Oh man, that was a mouthful.
Right, and it might actually correlate to moonlight potentially causing entropy to proceed more rapidly. Maybe that is the inverse on the presupposed physical moon origin of the light.
Just for the audience's benefit, Arwin is available for hire if you'd like heliocentric stories. Just contact Arwin at arwin.com.
There's no arwin.com.
I know, I was just saying it for humorous effect. You've previously punted out your services as a heliocentric wordsmith.
True. But just subscribe to my channel. ARWIGN.
Good plug. Not bad. Not bad. Moving on. Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius.
Black Swan.
At best, we've disproven it.
Well, then there goes your whole cottage industry.
Depending on what time of day and what day you're going out to measure it.
What kind of day?
Yeah, you know the story of Alberoni. He went and did the measurements. I bet you if he went on Monday, he would have different measurements versus going there on Wednesday or Saturday.
Just because Monday suck, right?
It happenstance that he went there.
Alberoni.
Hold on, guys. Don't rumpus him. Go on, Rebel.
Yeah, I was just so lucky that he went there, like, I don't know, I think it was Tuesday in the morning, and we got that radius. God forbid if he went there, like, in the afternoon or something, would have been living on the planet maybe 30 times the size.
Last Tuesday?
Tuesday's
I
a
think
good
so.
day for geometry, is what Rebel's saying. Thank God he went on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm just saying we're so lucky that he went there for that specific day. And if he went there any other day, what time of day, we would have been living on a completely different radius.
Yeah, but 5% off of something you can never see. How was that achieved?
Just don't highlight that nonsense too many times more. The fact that you can't see and measure this position that he's seen and measured.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Does that make sense, right? To be able to see and measure something that you can't see and measure. I mean, what's wrong with you guys?
What I think Alberoni did.
I see and measure shit all the time that I can't see and can't measure.
Is he Italian, Alberoni?
Do you guys hear me?
I hear you.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I hear you.
I don't know.
Right. So
what-
what Alberoni did was basically, well, just like the predecessors presupposed the Earth was a globe, and then he was basically the first to really try to prove the geometrical curve. But yeah, he kind of failed, and he said, "Nah, I'm just 5% off." And then I wonder sometimes if he himself kind of would recognize it, that it was a failure, but maybe that those who were paying him were just telling him, "Oh, that's good enough." I wonder if that's the case.
Armin, can I feed that back to you and see if I got it the way you meant it?
Okay.
So he went out there to prove the curvature of the Earth. He saw the apparent horizon on that particular day. And he says, I don't see curve, but based on my presupposition of the radius and the Earth is a ball, I'll just say I came within 5%, even though I never saw it.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
That's not. No. He's not trying to come within 5%. It doesn't exist yet. He's measuring it. Therefore, he needs to see it, thinks he's seeing it, he's deriving radius from it, and then further down the line in the rhetoric, we do not see it at all. It only exists in maths, therefore couldn't be measured. But Alberoni's claimed to be measuring it, and that's where we get the R value from.
Right. So he actually failed at measuring it, but he kind of presupposed, calculated it based on the spherical presupposition. And apparently that was good enough for the investors or whoever made him do that.
Don't
told
say
him to
it.
do that.
What's it? The geometric physical sphere edge of a claim to be globe Earth. That's what is the it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. The thing we can't see doesn't exist, right? It's only in the maths. Side on, Muppet Vision. That's what he's trying to measure. It is the geometric physical sphere edge horizon. We don't have one.
Right.
Well, didn't they always use things disappearing from the bottom up as their proof that that's it right there, but that changes on a daily basis?
Yeah, we haven't got a physical sphere edge for a horizon. We've only got one horizon, and the horizon in their model is a geometric physical sphere edge claim to block boats and buildings. In reality, we do not have a physical sphere edge for a horizon. It's just as simple as that. It's been debunked. It's been shown to be beyond the parameters of physical geometry. Hence, we're now told we don't have one. Well, if we don't have one, you can't measure it. Al-Biruni's story falls to pieces. You can't derive R. You can't then base a refracted horizon on the R value that you can't measure or see. The whole thing implodes. Big shout out to Wire Blues, who's joined as a penguin. So you can actually catch the uncut and after show. Especially good for people watching on a Friday, as the actual uncut and after show version of this show, this live show that's going out now, goes out on Sunday. So there's like a couple of days. But it'll be released to members immediately after it's finished recording. So you get to see it at the end of Friday rather than having to wait till Sunday. But thank you very much for joining, Wire Blues. Good to have you as a penguin.
So, Nathan, a changing variable horizon is what we experience, and they need a geometric fixed horizon to match the radius of the sphere, correct?
Not fixed, but physical.
Physical.
There's things that can bring the horizon closer and still be capable of qualification as geometric in the context that they give. But if you had fog, that would bring the horizon closer. That's perfectly acceptable. But it can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet for it to be declared as geometric. Now, that's been debunked with the black swan. Therefore, the only rebuttal, because it's debunked, it's not physical geometric, is to say, no, we don't have a physical geometric horizon. That's the response. But from that point on, the rhetoric leading up to their declaration that we can't see a physical sphere edge horizon, the very thing that's claimed to be blocking boats and buildings, falls apart when they try and extend that on to say, well, no, what we actually see is an apparent, redundant term, horizon based on the geometric horizon, and it's been refracted using the R value that we've derived from a physical horizon that we can't see. So the whole thing falls apart.
Interesting,
No,
though.
they can't say, after declaring to us that we don't see the geometric horizon, you can't redig on that and go back and say, oh yeah, we've got this boat being hidden by that same horizon that y'all just said we can't see.
Like precisely what they're doing currently, telling us, oh yeah, here's an example of a horizon blocking something, give us the feet and inches value and why it's gone. In other words, not keeping up to date with the flat earth debate, forgetting the fact that their whole number feet and inches value that they're asking you to qualify relies on them having a physical geometric sphere edge blocking those whole number values that don't account for angular size change. So it's like they've regressed to 2015 to stick their head in the sand. I love it.
They're not following the progression of events. You can't go back. It's like you guys are trying to like decrease entropy, man. You can't do it.
They're not keeping up with the flyer
Not with
debate.
it.
Go back in the Monopoly game, just go back to square one, start over again.
Well, Monopoly.
No, to go back to Al-Biruni, how did he know that he's measuring a sphere? Like, this is what I'm trying to understand. I mean, the circumnavigation, so-called, wasn't even done until 500 years after he died. Like, where's the notion of the sphere even come to the consciousness to even try and measure it?
They knew it was a sphere.
Aristarchus, the progression of events is to assume you're on a sphere by way of Aristarchus seeing shadows on lights in the sky. Assumed to be shadows by way of a spherical Earth becoming the thing that causes the shadow. In other words, it's in the way. Well, that assumption gives you Earth as a sphere. You then take that assumption
You know,
into the next step,
you know
which is to
Aristophanes?
derive the R value, which is where our Al-Biruni bubby comes in.
Do you mean Aristophanes?
No, Aristarchus.
Aristarchus, okay. I see.
But it starts with
But they weren't
Aristarchus.
able to confirm until...
Go on.
So they weren't able to confirm their assumption, quote unquote, until, let's say, Magellan circumnavigated and claimed he circumnavigated the globe.
No, they never confirm the
fact.
assumption. All they do from there on in is assume. So from that point on, from Aristarchus on, you have the assumption of sphericity. From that point on, every single claim to be globe proof ever asserted ever will start with the assumption that you're on a sphere to begin with. Everyone, without exception. I used to say, it's 99%. Just holding out for that just slim chance that someone might come along without a begging the question fallacy attached. It's never happened, and I'm going to say it now. It never will happen. From that point on, every claim to be, as you put it, globe proof, or an affirmation or a confirmation, is all assuming the sphere to begin with.
Yeah, I was just trying to keep it within the imagination of the globe people, who I used to be at some point. And number one proof, I'm not even going to NASA, because NASA's all BS. But going back to the way I was thinking, and I hear people thinking, is, what about circumnavigation? But if you establish a chain of events chronologically, it makes no sense, meaning people thought they lived on a globe like Al-Biruni and Aristarchus, thousands and hundreds of years before so-called circumnavigation had happened. So there's a backward chain of events. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Whenever you're dealing with a lie, you end up with a web of deceit as opposed to a nice linear timeline. Well, we definitely have not got a linear timeline with the heliocentric nonsense that we're currently under the idea of in the Western world. We've got a very fragmented timeline that jumps around. At some points during the assertion of a sphere, it's declared that it's been thousands and thousands of years, yet in other instances it's asserted to be about 500 years. Now, if you ask me, it's probably only become really mainstream in about the last 100 years. But that isn't necessarily what it says in the timelines, which is your point, right?
That's right, yes. You mean, if Magellan circumnavigated, which I don't doubt he did, which you circumnavigate around a flat surface, but to claim to have this as a proof of the globe, prior to that, not having any instances of circumnavigation, I can't connect. This is what I'm trying to point out for Globers. Like, if you establish this timeline between Al-Biruni and, let's say, Magellan, right? It seems backwards. The Magellan would have to have happened first, to then for Al-Biruni to say, it must be a sphere, and they'll all calculate it. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, because the assertion with the circumnavigation requires an affirming the consequent and a begging the question fallacy. So if the Earth is a sphere, then we can circumnavigate said sphere thusly. Hey, check it out, we've circumnavigated in the way we said, therefore Earth's a sphere. Well, you're starting with the assumption in your P statement that Earth's a sphere, and you're concluding it based on you being able to do this operation of circumnavigation. Well, that doesn't prove you're on a sphere. It's just begging the question and affirming the consequent. So no, it doesn't necessarily have to fit in that order in the timeline, because what? You need to affirm the consequent with a boat trip before you can measure radius? Nah, it's just an affirming the consequent, so it doesn't matter where that fits in the timeline. No offense. I'm not...
Right, and if I may add onto that a little, you don't need to really do anything in order to, in your mind, presuppose the Earth is a globe. The only thing you need is eyes and a clear night, and then notice that the stars are rotating. that's like a good vantage point to start presupposing the Earth is a sphere. You don't need to measure anything. You could just have this suspicion, and then all these other people have this suspicion, and then you go and set out to somehow prove that suspicion based on the presupposition. And so you don't really need to do anything in order to arrive to that suspicion that the Earth might be a globe. You just need to look up.
Exactly. Well said, Arwin. Very well said.
Thank you.
I disagree. Looking up doesn't tell me anything is spherical. It tells me that it's moving.
You just need to look at anything. Because
hold on, Chocolate. Just 1 sec. Hold on 1 sec. No, you're right, Rebel. For you, it doesn't. Now they're moving, and you can infer the logic. That's all Arwin's saying. And from there, you build upon that presupposition and affirm the consequent. If you're going to use your example with circumnavigation, but the point is, once you've got an idea, you can just build on that presupposition, is all Arwin's saying. I know you say, well, I see the stars moving, but that doesn't tell me I'm moving. Well, no, obviously not. But doesn't mean you can't make the extraction that heliocentrism has, and then from there on in just beg the question, which is all they've ever done.
Exactly.
yeah, once you've got the idea in your head that it's a sphere, anything you see, you could just say, well, of course that's happening because it's a sphere. Therefore, it's a sphere.
It could even be as crazy as that, nobody even heard of the idea of the globe, and then somebody opened up some tomb, and now I'm talking about 500 years ago, in some weird, remote region, and they find a globe, Earth model. Well, they'd never even have to conceive of the shape of the Earth before that, or just refer to the Bible. It's right there. It was worked out somehow, a conception maybe, and then that would absolutely out of nowhere trigger this idea, like, wow, we found a globe. Maybe the Earth is a globe. That would be enough.
Actually, if you find a coffin and you unearth it and you see a ball next to a body, that was just a kid with a toy back then.
No, way to ruin it.
And they're presupposing that it was a globe.
I'm saying is that there could have been heliocentric ideas. Who knows? Maybe even in the times of Egypt. Math is probably very ancient. So somebody could have built on that idea, not even doing anything with it, just as a wizardry concept in there.
Hold on,
whatever.
Sorry to interrupt, Arwin. So let me get it straight. We've just discussed and detailed how we have a very fragmented timeline for heliocentrism. Right now, we haven't, but we have in the past expanded on that in terms of questioning the validity of even the characters in the narrative, right? Okay. Based on primary source information and the lack thereof, right? However, you just said ancient Egypt, like it's just a matter of fact.
No, I'm just trying to play in what people would get. I'm not saying literally, I'm not trying to be historical here. I'm just giving an example. Heliocentric concepts could have been found from way in the past, and it would be, I don't know how they would approach it. Yeah. But this idea could have arrived earlier because we just see the stars moving in a globe, And how long have mankind been around in order to arrive to that idea and start working on it?
Well, just because something in the past...
Ted. Sorry, hold on, just 1 sec. Go ahead, Rebel.
Yeah, I was just trying to affirm what Arvin is saying. He's saying essentially the heliocentric model, mathematical model, could potentially be as old as math.
Maybe.
Ability of man to do math.
It's a possibility. I'm not saying that I have proof for this, historical proof, but people invent all the time.
Has anybody shown you that model yet, Rebel?
Showing me? Well, the only pictures that I have of the model is the moles flying around. Not to size, not to scale, obviously.
Yeah. All right, I'll try next time. I'm looking for that model.
I can't wait to see that model.
One yet, but those are the breaks.
When are we going to see it?
There's that patient New
Are we
Yorker.
ever going to see it?
Guys, if I may
Speaking of
give another
model.
example, because this to me is very serious. You do realize that, at least in the exploration days, there were these globes put into classrooms, kind of made a letter, but there were also globes of the heavens, like not of the earth, but of the heavens. Basically, put inside out on a ball so you could see with all the lineup of the stars and all the constellations and all that. So that existed. They had a ball model of that. 500?
No, that's the celestial sphere that they still use today, but it was ancient man's way of mapping the stars, and they had it stuck to a dome. So ancient man thought it was a dome, and the stars were moving within that dome. And the current pseudoscience is going back to that and using it, but changing what they were using it for to how they want to use it.
I don't know. I think, who says they originally used the dome? They might have modeled it out as a dome, but to use it in a ball form is very efficient, because that is kind of how it is visually.
Right. Well, because to the observer on the Earth, that's what it looks like. And so that's why they did that. That was why they had that whole model back then of the sky being a dome and the stars rotating around the Earth.
Right, exactly. Hold on. Can I just imagine a ship's mate goes into the captain's office because he's called for whatever. The captain is taking a look at that star globe, right? And trying to figure out his route or whatever through whatever plan. And the shipmate just looks in that ball and just like, what is that? That could be the start of them thinking, wow, he's orienting. He's using a ball. Does that mean that the Earth might be a ball? Because I've already been told by everyone that there's no edge of the Earth to fall off. And I've never experienced that in my travels. See, it's not that hard to get the ball in there somehow.
Well, that's what they did. You're right. Back then, they assumed the Earth was flat with this dome and the stars moving, and now they say we're a ball within this celestial sphere, and the celestial sphere is imaginary, and they even say it, and it's infinite.
Go on, Rebel. Hold on 1 second.
It's easy to change it.
Hold on. Go on, Rebel. I can see you trying to get a word in 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. No, it's just Arvin. When Arvin said somebody imagining falling off the edge of the Earth while contemplating the Earth being potentially a ball, my question would be, to even have the thought of falling off, you would have to construct a model in your mind of something being in somewhere where you can fall off, like space. The idea of space I don't think existed until recently.
Right. I was also going to pipe up when Arwin said that, but for a different reason, which is to say, when Arwin juxtaposed the edge, meaning the edge of the flat Earth model that you're now referencing, what went through my mind is, right, so what we will do is turn the horizon into an edge.
Well, it would not look. I don't think the edge. I think the edge is basically an ancient misunderstanding that was later kind of propagandized to prevent people from wandering off in the sea, on their own, from finding the ball to try and escape the island of England, for example.
No. I totally disagree. I think it's absolutely structured so that their weakest part of their argument, which is what's on screen now, this is the geometric sphere edge, the bit that's blocking boats and buildings in the distance. Well, that physical edge is what we're challenged to provide because it's the weakest part of their argument. They haven't got a physical sphere edge for a horizon, formerly known as Earth curve. So what do they do to get around that? Well, they assert that they have got an edge while simultaneously asking us for our edge. But they don't call their edge an edge. They call their edge, their sphere edge geometric horizon, they call that edge Earth curve. Don't call it an edge. Don't say the boats are going over the edge of Earth. Say they're going over Earth curve. Well, simultaneously asking us where our edge is and why boats aren't falling off the edge of it.
You're right, Nathan, but that's kind of the last 30 years. I've been talking about like 200 to 400 years ago. And I think because of the natural abilities of sight, you see kind of a border, the horizon, and it might give you a feel like things might fall off. It's like an intuitive thing. And yeah, people were not educated with that sort of shit. They just weren't. So folklore interpretations would go around. I think really that is where the original edge came from. It was not well thought out. And then later, when, that was probably propagandized by the government to really say, you don't go anywhere or you fall off the edge. Just like that. And that will work.
It's so ridiculous. I think the idea that there's a place where there is no more Earth, you just fall off into some void,
right?
That is some
only
really
works when you don't think about it, and that's why it worked, because they didn't think about it. It was just superficial nonsense from ground up with people that were absolutely not educated to think at all. That's where it came from. That was not.
Yeah, but at the same token, you can say people thought there's a wall around the Earth.
How do we know they weren't educated?
Well, people would know how to farm. They would know how to cobble. They had crafts, but they didn't learn anything other than their crafts back then. Just didn't. We're lucky if you could write, or read.
Can we talk about how they tried to isolate refraction, only working in certain times but not other times? I'll give you an example. So refraction has to do with light and the conditions that light goes through. So once it hits a different medium, it changes direction, but light is always in a straight path until something like that happens. So you've seen this demonstrated many times with prisms and other things, where it redirects the light and so forth, or if it's something to that effect. Now, they are saying that refraction is the reason why you can't see the geometric horizon. Am I right? The physical?
Well, they say terrestrial refraction's the reason, but they're basing the terrestrial refraction calculation on the radius value, which is derived from the geometric horizon.
All right. So when they do the 7/6R, and they take the Earth's 6 of 6, and they add the 7 for that terrestrial part. So 7/6R. That's contained in their math. We know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're saying that, hey, it's refracted, and you would see it, meaning the physical geometric horizon, that would validate the 3959 globe model they got, if there was no atmosphere and light was not refracted. Am I saying that correctly?
Well, they might say that. They might verbalize it that way, but that's inaccurate, because when you said the word see, when they're describing it, what they're detailing is something that occurs in their mathematics. So they're describing the physical geometric sphere edge horizon, light bending at a rate of 7/6R or whatever they derive necessary on that day, around the presupposed sphere bending with a radius value. Well, all of those things are occurring in terms of their description of them in the maths, only in the maths. Now, they're describing what you're seeing with mathematics, but that doesn't mean it is what you see. Their description is merely the mathematics that they lay down within their model. Meaningless, doesn't... Go on, sorry.
Right, no, I'm glad you said that. So now I want to just isolate one part of that obfuscation in their argument. The minute we asked them to show us the geometric physical edge to prove their 3959, they bugaboo to refraction, and then they tie it up with their mathematics. Now, if we say the Earth is not a sphere, and it's a plane of some type with topography of mountains, valleys, and when you're looking at a vast ocean, the top of the ocean seems very flat. So if we say the Earth is flat based on our reality that we experience on a daily basis, do we not deal with light on a flat plane, as well as them saying we deal with light on a curved ball. I mean, light is light. It's here if it's flat, and it's there if it's a ball. So we are experiencing refraction on the plane. And when we describe what refraction is, it works on the plane just as they're trying to say it only works in mathematics on their ball to prove what they're saying.
Yeah, but the actual effects that we experience are negligible. Shout out to Sleeping Warrior.
But you have to be able to
I thought you were
calculate it
gonna
on a
say
flat
something after
plane,
that.
right? Because isn't that what Andrew Thomas Young did?
Well, this
Yeah.
is where I'm going to slowly with dissecting this, because I'll say, look, we experience refraction too. You can't say it could only be experienced on the ball. It's experienced in reality now. You're saying reality now is a ball, and we're saying prove it by the radius and the observer height. You can't prove it. But so if we say, you say, well, it can't work on the flat plane. No, it works, because light, when it hits a different medium, changes, converges, does all kinds of things. So if I'm on a plane, and we've seen so many examples of this, that the stuff in the atmosphere, the deck, as you said before, Nathan, angular resolution, the Rayleigh criteria, we've got all these great things that can be backed up with things that could be done and redone to work on the flat plane. So how can they say that refraction proves a ball when it actually works on the plane and proves what just refraction is? It has nothing to do with a ball.
Because you've got two different things going on. You've got a description of what occurs with light in reality, and you've got a description of what they describe happening on a ball Earth in maths. They're two completely different things. So when we have a refraction discussion with a globe head, their entire aim is to bait and switch one for the other. So they'll detail most of the time, pretty accurately, the effects of refraction. They'll be able to detail the effects. They'll give you a list of all the different descriptions. They'll go into great detail. But at some point, they will substitute out those actual effects that occur when you're looking at things, seeing things, with what happens in their mathematics, based on geometry and a physical sphere edge for a horizon, in their maths. But that's just merely their mathematical description of what they claim is a description of what we see. Now, that's not the cause. Absolutely not. But they claim it's the cause. That's what they assert. They say it's causing this to occur, i.e. the Earth curve's getting in the way, or if it's not, because it's a black swan, the Earth curve's being bent at the rate of Earth curve. All done in the maths. All just a mathematical description, and therefore reification if they claim it's actually what's occurring. It isn't. It's just maths.
Exactly. That's how these arguments are going, because when they play out, that's what we see.
Right.
So to me, isn't it simpler as long as the word reaction? I'm getting bad echo. As soon as somebody utters the word refraction on the globe side, can't we just point out if refraction is acknowledged, you can never measure the edge? Can
Yeah,
we do that?
if you're gonna use R, you're gonna need R, to put it another way.
Well, to account for that, horizon number labeled with X, right? You have to measure it first to even come to the argument with the refraction. But it's like, it's a catch-22. As soon as you say refraction, then you can't say you measured R. And if you measured R, you can't say there's a refraction. One exclude the other.
Yeah, their refraction precisely. If you're going to use their geometric mathematical reification to describe what they claim is a physical sphere edge with a radius value calculable from that sphere edge, and then assert that light's being bent based on the radius value of that sphere edge, it all implodes, as we described at the beginning of the show. You can't base an R value refracted light in reality on something that can't be seen. Now, they're not doing that. There's a juxtaposition between the reality and their mathematical description and reification of a physical sphere edge that can't be seen.
If anything, they should, because for helping them come to terms with that, their physical sphere edge can't be seen. Because it's not really until the Black Swan that they started telling us that directly.
And it's going to take a few more months before they recognise, because there's still people who've presumably at some level heard the black swan argument that are still asserting that you've got physical sphere edge obstruction. And we're exposing currently the details of how and why that's been perpetrated throughout the masses. So 10th Man's doing a really great job of showing you how they say, here's all these different horizons. Just consider the one we see to be a physical one. Even though it's not, and it only exists in the maths. Well, we're telling you what you're telling us. We're all in agreement. We haven't got a geometric physical sphere edge horizon. It only exists in the maths. You can reify a mathematical geometric horizon that isn't capable of being seen or measured into a reality horizon that isn't physical in reality, but you think it is. That's the situation. Well, you know, you can think of it as being a physical horizon, like you can think of gravity as being a force, but it isn't. It's just in existence in the maths. It's merely a reification if you tell us that it's actually the reality we're faced with. It isn't.
Well, much like the astronomical horizon is an abstraction, the geometric horizon is just purely theoretical construct, not anything anyone could ever see.
Right, a philosophy. Not reality. We don't have a physical sphere edge horizon. We don't have Earth curve. That's what you guys called it. Earth curve.
Way back in the day, like 2019.
Yeah. Well, when it's we cannot see the geometric horizon, we wouldn't expect to see the geometric horizon. What they actually paraphrase that, or what I will now paraphrase that to, is we wouldn't expect to see Earth curve. Because that's the very thing that's blocking things in the distance. We're not seeing anything curving, but they use the word Earth curve to assert that there's a physical geometric sphere edge horizon obscuring things in the distance with its physical nature. Well, if you say we don't expect to see that Earth curve, then you don't have Earth curve.
If you don't have Earth curve and you can't see it, what did Alberoni measure exactly?
He didn't. It's just a massive plot hole in their narrative.
Yeah, it just implodes. Like, you just don't have to go far. It's like...
Yeah. The response was to say he's within 5% of a position that only exists in maths.
If 5% of what?
Exactly.
Speaking of,
How would you know that again if you didn't see?
Yeah. How are you measuring within 5% of it if you can't measure it?
was it someone on this panel who did the math on 5%, and it was 3.47 miles, the black swan picture that physical Earth curve horizon would be, instead of the 1.22? So even if you give them the 5%, which we're not, it would be at 3.47 miles instead of 1.22. And we know that Hill House and Habitat were well over 6 and 9.41 miles out. So they still fall short.
There we are again, juxtaposing the reality of what we see with their mathematics. Now, I appreciate that that's how the modus tollens argument is structured, but it doesn't change the fact that we still have that switch. We even have to verbalise it. We just have to make it more clear, and it occurs. So when you're describing the geometry and where the claim to be physical sphere edge horizon would have to be if you calculate out the horizon we see in the picture, their maths implodes. But it's still just a mathematical description as opposed to the reality we're faced with. And that's where their bait and switch will always occur, getting into the argument about what their maths says. And their maths is not reality, it's merely abstract.
No, I get that. I'm just saying that if they're going to say it's mathematics and we say to them it's mathematics and they say yes, but it works, then I'll say, fine. Then based on what you're saying within the 5%, that horizon that you say is well beyond the second platform at over 9.41 miles, even using your faulty mathematics, could be no further than 3.47.
Very interesting word you use there. Magical word. You said the word works. It's an interesting word because you can describe how the mathematical abstraction, quote unquote, works. It performs its mathematical function. That's what works means when you're describing abstract mathematics. Works, in quotes, means the maths will perform the mathematical function. Now, when they say works, the maths works, they imply that it's doing the physical Now, when you say, I'm doing work, that has a very different implication to a mathematical abstraction following its natural ends. Me doing work implies a physical aspect, a physical nature, by implication with the word work. Now, if I say that the maths works, and I'm describing something that's physical and real, like a photograph, the magic trick is to imply that you've got something doing something physical because you've described it with something abstract. So that word works is a magical word to perform the bait and switch operation in this little magic trick.
But it works on a globe.
There you go. There it is again. Works on a globe. Works in the mathematical reification that is the model. Right? Does that mean it's our reality? Well, no, but the word implies that because it's got a physical aspect to it. So words and spelling and grammar are how we have real magic. That's real magic. All magic is a way of achieving an outcome through verbalization and language. That's all magic is. You can program a nation to do things just by saying things. You know, the current lockdown, people have self-isolated because they've been told to do so. Well, that in itself is a magic trick. You know, grammar and grimoire, they are derivative words. Spelling means just that, to spell. So to understand where a good wordsmith has taken a word that has contextually different meanings and used it to imply physicality, in this instance with the word work, and reify the mathematics by using the same word that actually only applies to a function that never exists in reality. That's maths. Magic. We have got
What
one
model
housekeeping.
does this work on?
Go
Model
on.
we never see.
Say again. Say again.
I said, what model does it work on? The one that I've still never seen?
Yeah, but something working in a model, it's meaningless in physical reality. But if you say the word "it works," well, the model works. That leaves you with the impression that that's the physicality of things. Oh no, they just show you a graph, and there's the bait and switch done. Most of the time, in fact, 99% of the time, people don't notice it's happened, and will start arguing about the maths and how well the reification of their abstractions functions in reality. And it's like the two don't even mix. They're completely devoid of each other. The quantification of something in mathematics doesn't affect how something actually performs a function in reality. You're just quantifying it. But that's how they do it. They've taken mathematics.
That's where I think. Sorry, Nathan.
I was done. I was just reiterating the same point. Chocolate, go ahead.
No, I'm probably going off in a little bit different, just because I'm thinking that's where Soundly probably fucked up, because he came back thinking that that his side is still on looking at curvature, because apparently he thought he proved curvature with his little bendy bridge, right? Not understanding that in this argument now it's come back down to the math of his model.
No, he doesn't
and that
understand
geometric horizon, the thing that he said, oh, it's word soup. I don't know what that is.
That's all an act. So Roger MC, who has spent frequent hours in this hangout, in this Discord server, while these shows are live, is Soundly. So while he might play dumb and claim it's word soup, what that is wishful thinking being portrayed out to an audience. Just make out like it's never happened. Oh, geometric horizon. Nah. Earth curve. I don't know what this geometric horizon is. Well, that's just an act. He knows exactly what the situation is. He just didn't realise that it would let slip that he was Roger MC. So Brian's Logic has exposed this a couple of shows ago. He didn't know someone was recording, and it let slip that he's basically been in this hangout. You can go back and look at the shows where I have the Discord server panel showed to the audience, and there he is, sat there not saying anything. Never said anything.
Oh.
Well, he was sitting and listening
I've
to
seen that name plenty of times, yeah.
So he knows exactly what it's all an act. What they're hoping for is this black swan will go away. Oh, what do you mean geometric horizon? Ah, it's word salad. Meanwhile, I've got this Earth curve picture. Well, he knows exactly what the two are. He's been here. He's been listening to every discussion.
That snake.
Well, isn't that cute?
They're
Would you
all
expect
just poisonous?
Would you expect anything less from the guy who was sat whispering into GeoStreamer's ear and then got audio guy to lie on their behalf? Would you expect anything less? These people wouldn't need to do this if they were on the right side of the winning argument. That's Flat Earth, by the way. We're on the right side of the winning argument. Flat Earth. Globe Earth has got to lie, cheat, deceive, come in on sock accounts, pretend to be someone else. You've got to do all that crap if you want to believe you're on a globe and you understand any of these arguments. As Soundly definitely does. He's sat listening to him.
And they claim that we're in an echo chamber.
The only way forward is to make sure the black swan fades into obscurity. Just keep calling it Earth curve, pretend this idea of a geometric horizon that's a physical sphere edge is word soup, and just go about your day reasserting Earth curve. They're the same thing. We've debunked Earth curve, the geometric physical sphere edge horizon formerly blocking boats and buildings, calculable in the, quote, Earth curve calculator. And what are you calculating? How much the horizon blocks stuff. That's your Earth curve. It's your geometric horizon that's dead. So yeah, you need little snakes like Soundly to sit in and go, how can we get our way around this? And when you realise there's no way out, just say, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Geometric horizon, word salad. Look at my Earth curve pictures. No, it's not going to work. Earth curve is your geometric horizon that we can't see, hand wave. We do not expect to see Earth curve. That's what you're telling us. You don't have to like that. But that's the fact of the matter.
Word
That's not
soup.
what he's telling
Word
us,
soup,
because
not
apparently
salad.
he was the
You
only
tell
one
them
that actually got
actually
an
registered.
actual picture of the Earth curve, supposedly.
Who was it in Discord? Go on. Global Spanner? Rebel? Maybe it was... Who was it?
I was saying that he said word soup.
No, I was saying it seems like nothing we say actually registers with the Globers, and I think primary reason is because they think we're stupid, and they believe the space agency, and therefore anything we say, any argument we put forth just doesn't register.
I think it does, though. That's why they have to use all the tactics that they do.
I agree.
Because if it
I
didn't,
agree with Chocolate.
they would just debate it, properly, civilly. They realize how messed up their position is, which is why they have to do what they do. This is why Mr. Sally, I've been in the game 3 years, got to sit on a sock, in the cut, trying to gather information, like a little spy. This is why they have to come in and rumpus and do all this other crap, because they don't have anything. If they did, they just come in. Hey guys, it's a globe, and here I got this, and this, and yeah, you can shut the show down, and there you go.
And what did he get for his 3 or 4 months of reconnaissance? Oh well, sticking his head in his sand and pretending that it didn't exist and he didn't understand what it was all about. Word soup, word salad. That was what he got for his 3 or 4 months of reconnaissance in the Discord server, listening to the arguments, listening to them unfold. With all the time in the world to figure out a rebuttal, his rebuttal was to say, I don't know what you're talking about. What geometric horizon? That's his rebuttal. Wow, fundies. Your guru Soundly's looking pretty pathetic.
Or you could have Rumpus saying scaredy cat 100 times.
Yeah, useless to us. Absolutely useless.
Or maybe they're agents of the state.
Speak up, Rebel. Say again.
No, I call them agents. You can't be that stupid for free.
Can't make out what you're saying. You've got away from your mic or something.
He said he calls them agents because he doesn't feel they could be that stupid for free.
It's all an act. He's not that stupid. He knows what the discussions were about. He sat in and listened to them on mute the entire time with us going, can you hear us, Roger MC? No reply. Well, now we know why. Well, for him to come back and play dumb, like he doesn't know, what's the geometric horizon? Yeah, that's the rebuttal, because that's all you can do.
And I've seen that name all over. I've seen it in your chat, in the Discord, in 24/7. If it's the same one, Roger NC, that's pretty good, man.
Hey, Nathan,
Paul?
I got
Pretty pathetic.
Hey, Paul.
Nathan, I got something in Master Brief you could post from Andrew Thomas Young.
Sure. Okay.
When we had our back and forth and you brought in mathematics, I recalled this. Numerically, now notice that word. Would that fall within mathematics or actually?
I hope you're joking. Rhetorical.
I am joking, but I'm serious. He could have said actually, but he didn't. He said numerically, which really explains what you were saying, what they do with the math. So if you read this, you could just say mathematically, numerically, but you can't say actually. The radius of the Earth, the radius of the Earth varies a little with latitude and direction, but a typical value is 6378, about 3963 miles. If H is in meters, that makes the distance to the geometric horizon 3.577 kilometers times the square root of the height of the eye in meters, or about 1.23 miles times the square root of the height in feet. It's all math. Thank you, Andrew Thomas Young.
Perfect. We've got one last housekeeping question we didn't cover. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
I couldn't hear you because the sound doesn't travel through a vacuum, which would be here if the Earth was a globe.
Traveling down fiber optic wire.
Yeah, but still, like the room between the speaker here and my ear, it would not be able to transfer that question to me in order for me to hear it, because there would be no gas pressure on Earth if it was a ball in outer space.
Yeah, I see. You're saying if the sky was a vacuum, there'd be no air for the speaker to excite for you to hear this information, me asking you if there's any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container.
Indeed.
I see.
There would be no speaker and no you to build a speaker. Ever.
Well, this came on the other day where the guy couldn't get it. The antecedent to pressure is what? What do you got to have pressure?
Container to press upon.
Right. That was the antecedent. He was trying to wiggle his way out of that, because the question is, how do you have gas pressure without a container when the only way you can have pressure is within the walls of a container?
With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!